one.
Hi, I'm Sid, CEO and co-founder at GitLab, and today is our general group conversation. Ben, congrats on asking the first question. Do you want to verbalize it?
Certainly, thank you. So I've been unable to find a definition of when something is a bug and when it's a missing feature. And I think that matters because we assign priority and severity to bugs, and because customers define them differently. You know, our value of iteration can result in things missing from the product, and under some circumstances, customers will define that experience as a bug. And because we prioritize bugs, it's more transparent to the customer about when it's likely to be fixed. So my question is, I'd like to put an MR into the handbook so that we've got something in there, so that we can point customers at that when they don't agree with our decision, who would be the DRI for approving that?
Yeah, I think DRI-wise, I think a lot of people can do it. It's a product management thing. So if you have to point at someone, be Scott. But I have a big opinion about this, so feel free to mention me in Slack. I'd gladly merge something according to the lines of what I outlined. And you can take this verbatim if you want. I think that a bug is a feature that doesn't work according to the documentation or universal expectation. If like 100 of 100 people agree, like it should work like this and it doesn't, that's a bug. When there's any doubt, if you'd expect something to be there or to work, it is a missing feature, not a bug. If people disagree if something is a bug or a missing feature, like people could reasonably expect this feature to exist, it is a missing feature. Because we iterate, we frequently don't have features yet that some people might expect. These are not bugs. These are not things we're going to prioritize because some people expect them. Bugs are things we have to fix immediately, and that's we could be stuck as a company for the next year just making things that people expect if we use that definition. So there's some scar issue because I've been in these conversations, so I think it's a great idea to document this. Does that answer your question?
I think so, yeah. The documentation clause makes things interesting because you can then say, oh, well, we've added it to our documentation. It doesn't work like that. And,
Yep.
But it probably doesn't change the customer's perception. So yeah, I'll do an MR and we'll discuss it further there. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe I'll write that right now. A good way to resolve this is to add to the documentation what functionality isn't there and think to the issue. This way people aren't surprised, and if someone cares about it, they can easily find the issue that is hopefully marked accepting merge requests. Cool. Danielle, you have the next question.
Hey, so you call that slide 16 as being super important in your summary of your deck that you linked to. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how we can each individually contribute, or like how we can know that we're connected to these things as individuals.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of executives that are mentioned here. So when in doubt, search for the executive in that you are reporting to, and look at any initiatives that are marked there. There's 30 initiatives, so there's a lot of things to do, and that's all the way from engineering and product to marketing and sales. There's one for recruiting as well. I wonder whether we assigned. We did not assign, let's see. I'm wondering whether PeopleOps also has one. And that will be competencies. Yeah, Carol, I couldn't find her on first search, but there's one there too. So I think almost everyone in the company can find something that at least their part of the organization can contribute. That'd be a bit rich, but these are the important things we have to get going on. And I'm in a call every workday to make sure that we move these 30 initiatives forward.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
I can jump in here. Yeah, I was just curious, what's the most interesting thing you've learned in the last month or so?
Most interesting thing. Well, if you want to follow my thoughts, I post the CEO channel on Slack frequently. So if I find something interesting, it's there. There was a piece of software that made developing with Kubernetes more easy. It starts with an O, Okta something or something like that. Maybe someone can find.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to verbalize what that is real quickly?
Sure. Yeah, it's a piece of software that you install locally and it connects to a remote Kubernetes cluster so that all of your local dev changes are actually synced in code to a container on that cluster. So you can like immediately see while developing what your application would look like in that new container on a remote cluster. So you don't have to manage Minikube locally. You still have the same workflow for pushing to production, but in a development environment, it's really cool. And it has some nifty way of syncing and rerouting your traffic so that it goes to the right location when you're trying to look at your specific dev environment on that cluster. I'll add the links.
Cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think that was one of the interestingness. That was one of the highlights. Christopher.
Yeah, on slide 21, you have a couple items listed as how important, which are obviously super important things, but I wondered if you could verbalize what you're thinking about there in relation to those, whether it's changes in process or how to make it even more emphasized or things of that nature.
Yeah, thanks for that. Let me share my screen. We need to keep working handbook first. That's the basis of kind of our written culture. And we have hired a ton of new people. And it's sometimes you see people sending out presentations, sending Google Docs, sending other things instead of working handbook first. So that keeps being something that needs attention. The other thing is we got to make sure that we keep focusing on our values. I think that the value that's most at risk is the iteration value. Seen examples of people, instead of doing the minimal things, stuffing something full of making it as big as possible instead of as small as possible. We got to keep each other trained there that we make things as small as possible, not as big as possible. Don't try to make the biggest plan, make the smallest plan. And that is something that continues to worry me. In our training materials, there's not any great materials, but there's a lot of duplication. We have 22 different ways to train people. We're one company. We want to be efficient with our time and our money. So it's unacceptable that we have so many different ways to train people. So we have to get to a single way of training people. And that should be content in the handbook. And that content can be text or graphics or embedded videos. And then testing people through Google Forms and automatically sending them a certificate if they completed something. So I'm going to be working with Carol, with Emily Charillo to make that happen. And the fourth thing is a smaller one. I think that's being resolved. So those are three things that are top of mind. The most important thing, however, are the efficiency improvements we talked about earlier. That's, as a company, last year was a year of like very rapid growth, almost tripled the company. Right now, we got to make sure we stay efficient. We got to make sure that because we have a land and expand motion, we land customers on GitLab, have them experience the product, and then we know they're going to add users and up tier over time. But we got to make sure we can do that efficiently, and we got to get efficiency throughout the organization. So that's the biggest initiative. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this, Christopher.
Thank you.
David?
Hey, thanks, Ed. I'm starting to get questions. Our team's getting questions of, hey, what are we doing for this initiative or that initiative as part of those efficiency improvements? And I just want to get a sense of where things are at, because yeah, my understanding is that it's a list of, these are possibilities of things we could do, but there's still further evaluation and prioritization. Is that accurate, or can you characterize a little bit more about like where that's at and what are some of the next steps?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, these are things we're doing. Now, I don't expect all of these to be fruitful. We're going to start doing some of these, and some of these will conclude that we can't do it because it will take too much time or it won't be helpful. But we're not in an evaluation phase. We are doing these things. Some of them might not succeed. That's maybe a better way to put it. But we have very little time, so we're going to move forward with these items.
All right, thanks, Sid. That's I'm getting a different message, so I guess that helps to say, all right, the other messages, weed those out. These are things we're doing, and I guess we just need to reprioritize.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for asking. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sid, this is Jessica. I thought I would ask you a question. I'm interested in your point of view on the coronavirus and the potential economic impact you think it may have to GitLab or our customers. Just curious your thoughts.
Yeah. First of all, I'm glad that we canceled Contribute. It's safety first. So our safety is the most important thing. Also, having everyone travel a long way and then not being sure that they can return is a big risk. Might be even bigger risk than people getting sick. Second, a lot of companies are going to work remote over the next few days. I tweeted about increased traffic to our handbook yesterday. That already got, I think, 100 retweets. So there's a lot we can do there. A lot of companies are trying to figure out remote really rapidly now, and we can help them. So I think as a company, we have something we can contribute to the current outbreak. And obviously, the virus might cause an economic slowdown. Nobody knows. If there's a slowdown, then probably what you see is our sales cycles will lengthen, budgets will get cut. We already had impact on a deal. This is a public live stream, so the deal was with an airline, but airlines have a super hard time right now. Lots of refunds. Please, everyone, ask for a refund for your travel to Prague. If there's an economic slowdown, in general, life gets harder for startups due to the lengthening sales cycles. Now, we have a couple of advantages. We make companies more efficient. We save the money on licenses. We save the money on not having to do work to integrate tool chains themselves. We save the money by becoming more efficient. So it doesn't necessarily, it's not just bad news. It's also an opportunity. And also it's something we can't control. So it doesn't make sense to spend too much time worrying about that. We have very clear things we need to do, the efficiency improvement. So we should focus on those.
Thanks.
Thanks. Oh, and I have lots of thoughts apart from that about diagnostics and all the other stuff, but maybe I'll save those for Twitter. I don't think they're super relevant for the company. I want to start getting in the realm of personal pain. Oh, one thing I want to add, like we have if there's an economic slowdown and things like that, the first thing you'd worry about as a company is having enough cash. We have enough cash. So that's a great position to be in. Cool. If there's no further questions, have a great day. Thanks for the questions.